To get you reaction from political analysts, from political parties as well. In fact, Wayne Thring joins us here at our makeshift studios just across from City Hall. He's with the ACDP. Wayne, it's great to see you.
Thank you for having me, Michelle.
Thanks for coming on. And, you know, the question this morning, as we face widespread disillusionment, and you'll tell me whether you agree with that statement, that South Africans perhaps are going into the State of the Nation address this evening not looking forward to what the President has to say.
I think absolutely not. I think South Africans have become extremely disillusioned, extremely unhappy and unsettled. Largely, and there's a number of factors. I think if one just look at the crime statistics, it is actually comparable. Our crime statistics, it says, is actually comparable with and actually worse than what is taking place in Ukraine. So we are actually a nation that is at war with each other. It is also sad that I think the recent crime statistics that was released by the South African police, there was no fanfare, kind of just slipped under the radar. And perhaps one of the reasons is because of the huge increase. The average death rate or murder rate in South Africa was around 19,000 or so per 100,000 people per annum. That is now, it seems to have actually gone up to over 20,000. So it's about 24,000. And so clearly South Africa is a nation that is at war with itself. I think the challenge of crime pushes out as well investment. And we are seeing your fixed capital formation in terms of business investment versus government investment declining. And so while our members of parliament and the president and the members of the ruling party will travel to Davos and World Economic Forum saying that South Africa is open for investment, there's another story basically in South Africa. And the story is South Africa is a nation that is at war with itself. Crime is intolerably high. And then we cannot obviously ignore not the elephant in the room, but the giant. And that giant is a shadow that hangs like a sword of Damocles over South Africa. And that is our energy security problems. If anything, this is the greatest threat to South Africa. So Eskom, as well as the ANC right now, present the greatest threat to South Africans.
It's the one big issue that unites us as South Africans, right? And it's the one issue that feeds into a number of other crises facing our country. Our energy crisis feeds into water shortages around the country. It feeds into the healthcare sector and our inability to provide services to people who are in need. It feeds into what you've just mentioned insofar as the crime statistics are concerned. And in fact, I've got that figure here in front of me. It's 26,370 people murdered in South Africa in 2022. 1,200 of those are children.
And I think that this is the sad thing. So when the ACDP was asked to put forward their expectations for SONA, there were three things that the ACDP said. One, we need to look at the giant over South Africa, which is Eskom. Two, we're expecting the president to address the issues of the economy. And this, by the way, in terms of the grey listing, in terms of the downgrading of South Africa economically by your rating agencies, this was all pre-COVID. So we can't have the ruling party saying to us that it is because of COVID that our economy is in the condition that it is. The reason why our economy is in the condition that it is because of failed ANC policies. Policies such as your National Democratic Revolution, cadre deployment and such like. This is what is actually destroying our economy. Almost every department, every government department that the ANC actually have a finger on is failing. We can talk about PRASA, the Post Office, SAA, Denel, Transnet. There is not a single state-owned entity that actually is succeeding because of the ANC. But the family, the third one, is the family. And so we have to focus on that as well.
Wayne, you're going to we're joined in studio by Wayne Thring, who is the Deputy President of the ACDP. Wayne, great to have you with us. Thanks for your patience and staying with us. You know, the question around political parties, MPs in particular, and their response to the State of the Nation address. As the ACDP, what are you thinking about in terms of how you approach this SONA differently for the outcomes that you want to see?
I think what would separate the ACDP from many other political parties, despite the fact that, as I said, we have this giant in the room, which is Eskom, we have a financial crisis, which spins over to huge unemployment, businesses that are closing as a result of the energy crisis. We have a challenge with regards to health, and I don't know whether you've seen the clip of a paramedic that really speaks about how the energy crisis is affecting hospitals and their work as paramedics, where babies are dying in incubators, old people who are reliant on respirators who are being shut off, and getting to an emergency scene because of the traffic lights that are not functioning. They are stuck in traffic, and so sometimes get to an emergency scene too late. Now, we understand that those are the challenges and the reality that South Africans face today. But we also believe that, as the ACDP, the President has not spoken about the challenge that families face. And so for the ACDP, the focus has to be and should be, we are expecting and we would like for the President to reassure families, reassure mums and dads, that the oath that he took is an oath that he's going to uphold, that he will not put the ANC before, he will not put his party before the nation. He needs to take the nation into confidence to say that the dignity of families, mothers that are struggling to put together a meal for their children. The poverty index in South Africa has increased. Our Gini coefficient is one of the highest Gini coefficients in the world. In other words, under the rule of the ANC, we have an increase in inequality, where that should have been the reverse, because they came in as the saviors of South Africa. And so we need for the President to take into confidence our families, our fathers who would like to be there to help their children. But because of the regulations that we have, and we understand that there are those who, look, the statistic says that some 60% of children that are registered in South Africa do not have their fathers' details on their birth certificates. And so we have a nation of young people growing up with absent fathers. And what this speaks to, it speaks to the attack on the family, it speaks to the destruction of the family, the decimation of the family. So as the ACDP, we would like to see policies that are actually going to build the family, policies that are going to encourage the family, that South Africa must be a place where the family feels safe, where parents should not be worrying about the quality and the standard of their children's education. The recent statistics, and I think it is the Stellenbosch University that did a survey, the survey indicated that grade 1s at the end of 1 year at school are not able to recite the alphabet. Yeah. That your grade 4s are functionally illiterate. After spending 4 years at school, they cannot read for meaning. This is an attack on the family. Parents are sending their children to schools, to state schools, and we cannot use the excuse. We cannot use the excuse that our public schools do not have the resources that your private schools have. South Africa has some of the highest spend per capita in terms of education. Much more than what Zimbabweans spend on education, much more than what Malawians spend, Zambia and so on. And take our northern neighbors. On the continent of Africa, we spend more on education with some of the poorest results. And so there's this attack that we as the ACDP see on the family. And so we have to address policies
I want to come in there, because it will be remiss of us, and we've run out of time, so very quickly, the context in which the State of the Nation takes place. Mm-hmm. In Cape Town, in the Western Cape. The Western Cape was one of 2 provinces that last week experienced a series of mass shootings in which 22 people were gunned down. Areas on the Cape Flats, including Mitchell's Plain, Hanover Park, Delft, Kraaifontein, Nyanga, Khayelitsha, experience daily gang violence and an attack on their communities in the form of gangsterism, drugs, shootings on a daily basis. That's the context in which the President is delivering the State of the Nation address, isn't it?
Well, I think that's, it's absolutely clear that our police force are incapable of keeping South Africans safe. what we have is a police force that is reactionary. We don't have a police force that is indeed able to keep South Africans safe anymore. Most South Africans, many of us, including myself, have been victims of crime. And your police come 24 hours, if that, and sometimes a day or two after the crime has actually been reported. And so very clearly, we have a reactionary police force. We have a police force that is also being looted from the inside, and I think that we've seen some of the reports where vehicles, police vehicles, are going missing, police guns and so on are being stolen. And so this speaks to what one can only call a failed state. And what we've seen in the city of Cape Town is a sample of what many South Africans around the country actually face in terms of drugs, crime, and violence.
Wayne Thring is the Deputy President of the ACDP. Thanks very much for joining us here this morning,
Thank you.
Wayne.
Thank you for having me.
As we build up to the State of the Nation address.